Hey guys, welcome back to Robbie's Cooking. Today, I'm going to be making my rendition of the famous traditional beef Wellington. I call it the Burger Wellington. Now, this is going to be a pretty time-intensive recipe, so I recommend you break it up over about 2 days, not cook it all at once in 3 hours like I did. Okay, let's get started. The traditional recipe uses a mushroom duxelle. Even though I consider mushrooms to be absolutely disgusting, and I don't fully understand why we consider them to be edible, I'm going to use it anyway for the sake of accuracy. First, remove the stems from the mushrooms. We're going to be putting these mushrooms through a food processor, and we want to have about 1.5 cups of finely chopped mushrooms in the end. After you've properly washed, stemmed, and cut your mushrooms, let's start blending them into a paste that sticks to the side of the container every pulse. If you have a better food processor than I do, you probably won't have this issue, but I had to keep shaking it like this in order to blend this down to the fine paste that I needed it to be for this recipe. Let's watch me for a bit as I struggle to blend this. Almost. Alright, you get the general idea. Let's just skip past all this. Perfect. Now, let's finely chop one shallot. I like to cut shallots the way Gordon Ramsay cuts onions, which is exactly how I'm showing you right here. I find this to be a super effective way to just finely slice and dice anything that is onion-like. I mean, come on, look at this. It's so finely chopped. I don't think it gets any better than this. Next up, we're going to finely chop a few leaves of parsley. This is about 1 tablespoon of parsley once you've chopped it up. Making our way over to the stove, we're going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter over medium heat and also add in about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. To this mixture, we'll add all of our finely chopped shallots until they become translucent. This should take about 4 minutes. Once translucent, add in the mushroom paste. The goal here is to remove all the moisture from the mixture. You really want to dry off the duxelle because too much moisture will turn this beef Wellington burger into more of a sloppy joe. Stir often until the mushrooms become thick and nearly blackened. You should make this into more of a thick paste or completely dry it out like I did. Either way, it'll taste great. Add in the finely chopped parsley and mix well. Season with a few shakes of salt and pepper. Stir in all the ingredients before transferring to a small bowl to let cool. Next up is a chicken liver pate. Start off by melting 1 tablespoon of butter with about 1 tablespoon of beef tallow to begin sauteing our chicken liver. Once the chicken livers have begun to saute, add about 4 sprigs of thyme, 1 clove of garlic, and half a small chopped onion. Mix to combine to ensure the chicken liver is just about cooked on all sides. Once this is done, add in some heavy whipping cream and continue mixing to incorporate all ingredients. Let this simmer for about 8 minutes or until the livers are cooked. Before fully cooking, be sure to add in about 2 tablespoons of fresh basil leaves. Once the chicken livers have been fully cooked, add in some red wine vinegar in order to finish this off and transfer it to the food processor in order to blend this into a smooth pate. Before processing, I'm adding about 1 tablespoon of salt and a few shakes of pepper. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Amazing. Look at that. Oh man. Just like the duxelle, we're going to transfer this to a bowl to let cool. Next, we're going to get started on making our crepes. It's important to note that many modern recipes have replaced the crepe with prosciutto. Since I'm doing this the traditional way, I'm going to use the crepe. Start off by mixing 3/4 cups of flour with about 1 tablespoon of salt. You want to make sure that the salt and flour are well combined before moving on. Add in 2 eggs and 1/4 a cup of milk. Whisk all ingredients until it becomes a smooth batter. Be sure to work out any clumps of flour. After you've achieved the complete homogeneous mixture, add in 3/4 cups of milk. Now we whisk until we achieve the final form, a smooth, thin batter. The final touch to making these crepes absolutely savory is to add 1 tablespoon of melted butter just before cooking in our 10-inch pan. Once you pour the crepe into the pan, it should start forming almost instantly. Be sure to swirl the pan or add more batter as necessary in order to achieve a uniform thickness across the crepe. Cook on each side for about 2 minutes or until the crepe begins to brown, and then transfer it to a plate. This mixture will make about 3 crepes. Next up, we'll prepare the meat. The traditional recipe uses a beef fillet, but in order to make this recipe more accessible, I'm going to just use this ground beef. I'm using 88 lean 12% fat ground beef, and I'm seasoning it with salt and pepper. I'm mixing it together so that the meat is the same temperature throughout. You want this to cook as evenly as possible. It's also important to note that I had this sitting out for about 2 hours before I started working with it, so that it was completely room temperature. We're going to toss these into a pan with olive oil on high heat in order to sear both sides of the burgers. We're not looking to fully cook these patties right now, so just cover it for about a minute and then remove it from the heat. To prepare the inside of the beef Wellington, we're going to spread the chicken liver pate across 1 crepe. The traditional beef Wellington uses both the mushroom duxelle and the chicken liver pate. But in order to see if the mushrooms add a huge difference in taste, I'm going to make 1 burger with just the chicken liver pate and 1 burger with the mushroom duxelle and chicken liver pate. Add some yellow or Dijon mustard to the top of both. The next step in our burger Wellington is to prepare the puff pastry. I'm using sheet puff pastry that I bought from the store. I didn't show it here, but I rolled this out into a size that would fit my crepe comfortably inside. Be sure to tightly wrap the burger in both the crepe and puff pastry and cut off any excess puff pastry. Place your Wellington tuck side down into a lightly greased baking pan and repeat this process for any additional Wellingtons. At this point, we're nearly done. Now we need to take 1 egg yolk and separate it from the egg whites like I'm doing here. Now we just have to channel our inner DiCaprio to paint these beef Wellingtons like one of our French girls. As a final touch, use the back of a knife to score the top of the pastry. This isn't completely necessary, but it makes it look pretty. We're going to bake this in the oven at 415 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes, and then turn that down to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and then bake it until a temperature probe inserted from the side reads 165 degrees Fahrenheit. While that's going, sit back and have a glass of your favorite juice. It's been a long night. Finally, we can cut open our final burger Wellington. Moment of silence, please, as we open up this burger. Amazing. Alright, let's dig in. I can't wait. Wait, what's that music for? I don't know. This smells amazing, and I'm gonna... it's so hot. Alright, now that we've let our beef Wellington cool down to a reasonable eating temperature, let's try this out. I honestly think this is one of the greatest burgers that I've ever had in my life. Ironically, this is the one that had the mushroom duxelle and chicken liver pate. I can't imagine what the one with just chicken liver pate tastes like. Alright, let's put that away and try the one with no mushrooms. We're going to start it the same way by cutting it in half just to see the inside of it. Alright, let's dig in. It looks great, it smells great, but honestly I'm kind of disappointed with this one. The mushroom duxelle brings loads of flavor to the party, and it's simply not the same without it. After this video, I combined the mushroom duxelle and chicken liver pate into one cohesive paste. They're a match made in heaven. Alright, thanks for watching this week's episode of Robbie's Cooking, and I'll see you soon. Be sure to check out my previous 2 videos, and if you liked this video, please leave me some comments on how you felt about it.